I welcome you all to the session of hydraulic machines, and the topic which will be discussed today is the slip. So, in fact, in the last few classes we have discussed about the pump cavitation, and we have seen that this phenomenon is not desirable and we should take preventive measure to arrest it. So, even though a pump is designed which is having very minimum, rather very small requirement of NPSH, the installment of the pump in a site wherein the NPSH available will play an important role for this occurrence of this phenomenon. So, we have seen one important consequence of this phenomenon, that is the cavitation, is that both the volume flow rate as well as head drops. Volume flow rate decreases, head which is expected to be developed by the pump also reduced. So, today we will see that what is slip. In fact, in fluid mechanics course we are familiar with no slip boundary condition. In fact, with the advent of microscale fluid mechanics, we have also seen that slip boundary condition also is there, that I mean liquid also slips over the solid surface, not always, but at some special conditions. Okay. So, today we will be discussing about pump slip. In fact, you can see from this slide that we will know first what is slip, why it is developed in the context of pump operation, then definitely we will try to quantify the amount of slip, and for that one important model that was proposed by Stordula, and we will try to cast the equation following this model. So, very first our objective would be to understand what is slip and why it is important and why it is happening. So, just for the recapitulation, if we try to recall a radial flow pump. So, this is the impeller of a radial flow pump and the pump is rotating in the clockwise direction. So, the pump is rotating in the clockwise direction and this is the impeller of a radial flow pump. Now, what we know, rather what we have understood from the previous classes, that pump is a mechanical device and this device is used to develop head, also to provide flow rate. So, when you are talking about develop head as well as to provide flow rate, so definitely the fluid which is being handled by the pump will be given some energy and that energy will come from the mechanical energy that is supplied to the pump. So, that means in a pump there is energy conversion and the mechanical energy is converted to increase the stored energy of the fluid either in terms of pressure or velocity. In most of the cases it is combination of these two. So, now when we are talking about energy conversion, we have seen that either the impeller of a radial flow pump or axial flow pump. In fact, in this particular class I have drawn one impeller of the radial flow pump. Also we have seen that the impeller is rotating in the clockwise direction. For this rotation, what we need to do? We need to connect this impeller, rather we need to connect the shaft on which this impeller is mounted to a shaft of an electric alternator or a diesel engine. No matter whether it is diesel engine or electric motor which is used to drive the impeller of a radial flow pump, energy is added, and that mechanical energy will be converted into the stored energy of the fluid, and perhaps we have understood that Euler equation is used to quantify this conversion of energy, right. So, energy which is given to the pump in terms of mechanical energy, out of this mechanical energy we are getting the energy which is stored in the fluid in terms of velocity and pressure, and that is predicted by Euler equation. And perhaps we have seen this equation for the pump, that is u2 c theta 2 minus u1 c theta 1 divided by g. In fact, that is what we have discussed many times in the previous classes. So, if we take out a particular blade and if we try to draw the velocity triangles at the inlet and outlet. So, this is blade velocity at the inlet or tangential component velocity u1. This is the velocity of the fluid relative to the blade, and that is relative velocity w1, and the resultant is the absolute velocity c1, right. And this angle is beta 1, that is what we have discussed. Similarly, if you try to draw the velocity triangle at the outlet, so this is the relative velocity of liquid or fluid which is leaving from the pump impeller, this is W2, and this is U2, that is tangential velocity at the blade outlet, and this is the resultant, that is absolute velocity. So, we know that the component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction, that is c theta 2 for this particular case. So, this is c theta 2, and similarly this is c theta 1. Right. This is beta 2. Now, using this equation we can predict, and we have also seen that the predicted head by this equation is not the correct, rather it is not achievable. I can't say it is not correct, theoretically it is correct, but the head predicted by the Euler equation is not achievable from a pump due to several reasons. Perhaps the topic that I am going to discuss today, that is slip, is one of the reasons to reduce the head than that predicted by the Euler equation, right. So, what I was telling, because my objective is not to discuss again on this topic, that is the velocity triangles and Euler equation, but just for the recapitulation, we have seen that Euler equation is used to predict the head that will be developed by the pump, though it is ideal head, and we have seen that the actual head that will be developed by the pump is always less than that predicted by Euler equation, and probably that is why we had to define one efficiency, that is called hydraulic efficiency. Sometimes this efficiency is also known as manometric efficiency. Today also we are telling that the head predicted by the Euler equation is not achievable. I mean, if we just try to calculate the head that will be developed by the pump, knowing the component of velocity c theta 2 and c theta 1, because we know the design parameter, right. So, this is the predicted head, but this is not achievable in real practice, in real situation, and what I said is that there are many, rather several reasons, and one of the reason is the existence of slip, and probably that is what I was discussing till now, that slip is an important phenomenon in the context of pump operation, which is responsible to reduce the head than that will be predicted by Euler equation. Okay. Now, you can see, so this phenomenon is very important, at least we should know. Our entire objective is to develop head at the cost of the input energy. Now, if because of this phenomenon, that is slip, the head is reduced. So, definitely our attention should be given to that particular phenomenon to know what this phenomenon is and by how we can reduce it, if we can reduce at all, right. So, now we will be going to discuss what is sleep, but before I go to discuss about sleep, at least I would like to discuss one important thing probably that you have studied in the context of classical fluid mechanics, that is called isolated airfoil theory. I am not going to discuss in detail, but just only to recapitulate what we have studied. What is this? What is isolated airfoil? In fact, here we have drawn 3 different blades, 3 blades. So, the blades which are there in the radial flow pump is basically isolated airfoil. So, that is why I am trying to connect this particular aspect to the topic that will be discussed today. So, what is isolated airfoil? Now, you know that the blades of a centrifugal pumps are basically isolated airfoil. So, if I try to draw, so this is basically a blade, this is the leading edge, and this is the trailing edge. That is what we have studied. Now, when flow approaching this airfoil, this is isolated airfoil, right. So, basically a single airfoil, the shape of a blade is a single blade of profile airfoil is called isolated airfoil. So, you can see a single blade which is having shape of airfoil, and this is called isolated airfoil, right. So, I am writing here for the understanding. Just for the sake of completeness, but if you would like to know more on this part, definitely you should focus books. There are several books. I can give you one book that is called Fluid Mechanics and Thermodynamics by of turbomachinery. So, I am writing, if you would like to know more on this part, fluid mechanics and thermodynamics of turbomachinery by S. L. Dixon. So, this is very important, very good book. At least if you would like to know more on this part, you can follow this book. So, basically a single blade of profile airfoil, a single blade of profile airfoil is called isolated airfoil, that you can see. Now, why I am trying to discuss this part, when flow is approaching this, basically, so this is basically this is convex, this is concave surface of the blade, and this is the convex surface of the blade, right. Now, So, this is what we have discussed, that is convex surface and a concave surface. Now, when flow is approaching this isolated airfoil, because in a radial flow pump there are many blades, I mean depending on the requirement, whenever a pump is designed, the pump designer is the right person to select how many number of blades will be there. So, every blade can be compared with the isolated airfoil, right. So, now basically when if I try to write, rather if I try to draw this airfoil like this, this is isolated airfoil. Now, when flow is approaching, then rather I will try to like this. And if I take different color to draw the streamline patterns, right. So, you can see when flow is approaching this isolated airfoil, flow past this airfoil, and if we try to observe the streamlines, you can see streamlines are very close to each other on the convex side of the blade, while, and this is again I am talking about isolated airfoil, and streamlines at the concave surface of the blades, of the blade, they are not very close to each other, right. So, here streamlines as if they are very densely packed. So, basically flow streamlines here in the concave side, they are not very close to each other, while streamlines on the convex side, they are very close to each other. As a result of this type of flow dynamics, fluid dynamics, the flow velocity on the convex surface is very high, and here kind of streamlines are not very close to each other. So, flow velocity is not very high. So, basically kind of flow is not getting attached to the blade, you can see. In fact, you have studied, I am not going to discuss that part, and that is what is discussed in detail in fluid mechanics course. So, if I again take the green color. So, basically here streamlines are very close to each other. So, as a result of which flow velocity on the convex surface of the blade is very high. So, flow is trying to be attached to the surface of the blade, while at the concave surface of the blade streamlines are not very close to each other, and as a result of which flow velocity is very less. And probably since the flow velocity is very high on the concave surface, so here streamlines are very close to each other. Right, while here streamlines are not close to each other. Now, what is the consequence? Already I have discussed that flow velocity on the convex side will be very high, while the flow velocity at the concave side will be less. Now, because of this difference in flow velocity across the blades, if I take a section. So, if I again take different color. So, if I take a particular section here, you can understand. Now, if I try to move from A to A prime, you can see. So, if I try to move across the blade from point A to A prime, we can see there is a difference between flow velocity, though the same uniform velocity is trying to approaching the blade. Now, because of the high velocity on the convex surface, pressure will be less, while the concave surface velocity is very less because streamlines are not very close to each other, flow is not trying to be attached to the surface of the blade, and as a result of which pressure will be high. So, if we try to go to the next slide, again if I try rather if I take the right. So, here streamlines are very close to each other, okay, and at the bottom surface streamlines are not very close to each other. Okay. So, what we have seen from the previous slide, that due to the difference in flow velocity, pressure is high at the concave surface, while pressure is less on the convex surface. So, just if we try to, and if I take a particular section here, you can see that is from A to A prime, then again if I try to draw the airfoil, isolated airfoil, then I will draw using different color. So, pressure is very high here, and I am just trying to denote using positive quantity, while pressure is less on the convex surface. So, this is convex surface of the blade and this is concave surface of the blade. Okay. Now, so basically you can see, due to the geometrical structure of the blade itself, we have come up with a conclusion that when the flow is approaching an isolated airfoil, due to the geometrical structure we are having a pressure difference across the blade. That means, if we now traverse from this location to that location, we are having a pressure gradient. So, now because of this pressure difference, a force basically will be acting, because that is the area. So, this pressure is acting over this area. So, the pressure multiplied by the area, that is nothing but force, right. So, what is that? A force will be acting in this direction, and that is FL, and that is what you know, that lift force, and this force is known as lift force, right. So, in fact, you have studied this, but just only to discuss this part, because this will be very much relevant to discuss today what is slip, rather I will be discussing very soon. So, you can see we are having one force, and that is known as lift force. So, while lift force is generated, I hope it is now clear that the lift force is generated. So, the geometrical structure of the blade itself is responsible to create a pressure difference across the blade, and which in turn gives rise to this force, and that is lift force. And this lift force, this force is developed perpendicular to the flow direction, right. So, this FL which is developed perpendicular to the flow direction. Now, definitely I will move to discuss the topic that is slip today, but what we have understood from this preliminary discussion is that due to the geometrical structure of the blade itself, when there is a flow, the flow passing this isolated airfoil, because of this geometrical structure of the blade, we are getting one force, and that is developed or that is generated in the direction which is perpendicular to the flow, right, because flow direction is in this direction, and so this is the flow direction. Right. So, we are having one force. So, same concept will be applicable again in the context of pump, and that is what I am going to discuss today. Okay. So, if we now consider the radial flow pump, impeller of a radial flow pump. So, you can see I have tried to show a few blades which are having, I mean all the blades are having shape of a isolated airfoil. In fact, so now I mean if we take out one particular blades and if we try to draw, so, this is the structure of a pump blade. These blades are mounted on this hub, right, and so this is blade, right. So, when fluid or liquid is flowing between, rather through the passage between two consecutive blades or through the impeller itself. So, when fluid is flowing through the impeller, rather to be precise the passage which is formed between two consecutive blades, then as if we can compare a flow, the flow is approaching the isolated airfoil, and definitely the concept that we know that force will be developed. Okay. Now, again for this particular case, if we take for the simple analysis, so basically what we can understand, all blades are basically isolated airfoil type in a radial flow pump. Now, when the flow is occurring through the impeller, following the concept that we have learned that due to the geometrical configuration of the blade itself, a pressure difference will be there, and because of this pressure difference we are getting one force, and that is the lift force. So, similar force we will be getting here when flow is passing through the impeller. Now, just for the simple in analysis, if I considered one blade, one impeller, and okay. So, basically I am considering this type of arrangement just for the ease in the analysis. Okay. So, I am considering an impeller which is rotating again in the clockwise direction, but instead of representing the blade just like an isolated airfoil, I am trying to represent them like this only to have a simple in analysis. Okay. So, you can see when liquid is passing through the passage between two consecutive blades, right. So, at least you can understand that this impeller is rotating in the clockwise direction. So, because of this rotation, one force will be acting in the direction which is perpendicular to the plane of this board, right. So, because of this rotation, one force is acting in the direction which is perpendicular to the plane of the board, because this is rotating in this direction with an angular velocity omega, right. So, that is there. Now, when liquid is moving in this direction, so you can see here flow velocity is there. So, definitely here another force will be acting. So, this force is acting in this direction, and another force is definitely will be acting in the direction which is perpendicular to the plane of the board, and that is in this direction, right. And you can understand, because of these two force, right, if I apply, and that is known as Fleming's rule, a resultant force will be acting in this direction. So, basically the force due to the movement of liquid which is flowing in this direction, that is F, right. Another force due to the rotation of the impeller which will be acting in the direction that is perpendicular to the plane of the board. So, a resultant force will be acting, if I try to represent using different color. So, I mean if I take using red color. So, the resultant force will be acting in this direction, that is R. So, this is the resultant force. I am trying to describe this in a more simple way, only to make participants from different institutes understandable, that when the liquid is flowing through this passage between two consecutive blades, so as if one force is there, otherwise, and that is that centrifugal force will be there. So, basically one force for the timing, that one force is there when the liquid is moving in this direction, and that is in this direction. Now, since the impeller is rotating in this direction, because of this rotationality effect, one force will be acting, and that will be acting in the direction which is perpendicular to the plane of this board. So, that is in this direction. Now, the resultant force will be acting in this direction, and that is shown by R, right. If you have understood it, now question is, because of this resultant velocity, if I take a particular blade, say if I take out this particular blade, and if I write over here, rather if we take out this particular blade, if I draw over here, you can understand one force will be acting, that is R, right. So, because of this force, the pressure which will be acting on this surface. So, basically if I give name, this surface will be high. So, because of this resultant force, pressure on this particular surface right side of this blade will be definitely high, that is positive, and definitely pressure will be negative on the other side. So, this is positive pressure because of this resultant force, and this is negative. So, basically I am now trying to represent by these two words, that is positive and negative. It is not just like a negative pressure, but as compared to the pressure which is acting on this surface is very high. So, the positive word is used to signify that. So, basically to signify the effect, to signify the relatively higher magnitude of pressure which is acting on the right side of the blade, is the word positive is used, while since the pressure on the other surface of the blade is relatively lesser, and that is why negative pressure is used. So, you should not be confused by the words positive and negative, the negative pressure, that is the vacuum pressure, that is not the case. Basically the pressure on the again I am telling that is what I have used, and that is why this is known as pressure side of the blade and that is known as a suction side of the blade. So, again I am telling the resultant force is acting directly on this surface. So, this is, so basically this resultant force is acting, because of this force pressure at that side will be definitely higher and the other side will be lower, and to signify their effect on the blade surfaces I have used this word positive and negative, fine. Anyway, now question is, you can understand, so the pressure difference is there across the blade, right. Now question is, if I try to take, instead of taking very simple blade, and the simple blade I have taken, that is straight blade I have taken only to have very simple analysis, but now if I take the actual shape of the blade, that is those are there in the radial flow pump impeller, that I mean if I take that, the blade shape will be like this, right. So, again you can understand that pressure will be positive in this side, rather high pressure, and negative in this side. So, basically this is high pressure side and that is low pressure side. Right. Now, you try to understand, if we go back to the previous slide, this slide. So, this is the convex side and this is the concave side, right. So, in this particular case, the flow past an isolated airfoil, we have seen that pressure on the convex side surface is less and pressure at the concave surface is high, and this is the difference between the isolated airfoil and blade of a radial flow pump impeller. Here this is the convex surface where pressure is high and that was very less in case of isolated airfoil. So, in case of an isolated airfoil, the pressure is less on the convex surface, while this is high for the blade of a radial flow pump, and this surface is the concave surface. Okay. So, you have understood that because of this rotationality effect and continuous movement or continuous flow of liquid from the pump impeller in this direction, the resultant force which is acting on the convex surface of the blade will increase the pressure, and that is shown by positive sign, while the pressure on the other surface, surface of the blade will be definitely. So, this is the blade of an radial flow pump. So, this is the blade of a radial flow pump. Okay. So, because of this we have seen that there is a pressure difference, and now what will be the impact, the consequence of this pressure difference. So, we have seen that in case of an isolated airfoil, due to the pressure difference a lift force is being generated, but in case of a pump what will be the consequence, and again that there will be a force, and perhaps because of this force the effect of slip will come into the picture, and that is what we are supposed to discuss. Okay. Now, you can see that so this is the only difference between the blade of a radial flow pump and the isolated airfoil. For the isolated airfoil, convex surface pressure is less, but for the blade it is high, fine. Now, at least you can understand that if I try to draw the impeller of a radial flow pump now again, okay. So, this pump is rotating in the clockwise direction, fine. Now, so just I am trying to the liquid is coming out in this direction and the impeller is rotating in this direction. A force will be acting in the direction perpendicular to the plane of the board, and another force is in this direction. The resultant force will be responsible to create a high pressure on the convex surface of the blade, right, and this will be negative pressure, right. So, the resultant force will be responsible for the high pressure on the convex surface of the blade, while at the concave surface of the blade will be less. Now, what will be the consequence? Can't we draw the velocity triangle at the outlet now, because that is what is our objective today. So, if we try to draw the outlet velocity triangle, say I would like to draw the outlet velocity triangle here. So, this is 0.2 and this is 0.1. So, at this particular point, if we try to draw the velocity triangle. So, now if we try to, so that is velocity triangle at the outlet. So, this is what? So, this is 0.2, right. So, at 0.2, that is at the outlet of the pump, if we try to velocity, if we try to draw the velocity triangle, it looks like this, right. Now, at least all the velocity components which we are familiar with. So, we are familiar with all the velocity components, just the one angle alpha 2 that I have drawn, that this is beta 2. So, this is, you can understand this angle is beta 2. So, basically this angle is also beta 2. So, this is 90 minus beta 2. Okay. Question is, this is what we can expect the velocity triangle at the pump outlet. The pump designer has designed the pump, considering the geometry of the pump, that is rather geometry of the other design parameter of the blades, like the inlet velocity, inlet blade angle, outlet blade angle. We are supposed to get the velocity triangle like this. So, basically this is the velocity triangle, but not now, not really. So, basically we will not get the velocity triangle like this at the outlet. Why? Because of this effect. So, basically though we are expecting to get the velocity triangle, the look of the velocity triangle will be like this at the pump outlet, but because of this effect that pump is rotating, one force is there, liquid is coming out from the impeller, another force is there, and the resultant force will be creating a positive pressure on the pump impeller. So, what will happen, you know, that because of this resultant force, so basically the resultant force, I mean if we take out this particular blade again, if I take different color. So, if I take out this particular blade and if I try to draw, so this is the blade and this is point 2. So, this is the positive pressure, that is pressure is relatively high, and here pressure is less, right. Now, the resultant force is acting in this direction, that is R, that is resultant force. So, you can understand, because of this resultant force pressure is definitely high, it will have again another important consequence that we will be discussing in our subsequent classes, but for the time being in today's class you should understand, because of this resultant velocity, the absolute velocity component C2 and also because the tangential velocity component U2 is fixed, because pump is rotating at a constant angular velocity and the diameter of the pump at diameter of the impeller at the outlet is also same. So, basically this U2, that is pi d2 n by 60 and that is fixed, right. D2 is fixed, n is fixed, U2 is fixed. What will happen? Because of this resultant force, the velocity component C2 and W2 will shift towards the left. So, if I try to superimpose that new velocity triangle using different colors, a red color, what will happen, you know, the new that will be W2 prime and this will be C2 prime. So, you can understand this U2 will remain same, because because D2 is fixed and n is fixed, but because of this resultant force, the velocity components, that is absolute velocity component and the relative velocity component at the outlet will now shift from their original position to the new position. I think you have understood. Now, what you can see, so because of this shifting of the relative velocity and the absolute velocity at the outlet from their original position to the new position, right, the head developed by the pump, head developed by the pump H equal to U2 C theta 2 minus U1 C theta 1 by G. Now, if we consider that the inlet swirl is 0, inlet swirl equal to 0, that is C theta 1 equal to 0. In that case, this head developed by the pump can be written U2 C theta 2 by G. Now, you can understand this C theta 2 earlier, if I try to, this is the C theta 2. Now, the present you can understand. So, C theta 2, this is the C theta 2, that is component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction, which we are expecting to get from this particular pump, but because of this phenomenon, that is the resultant force that is being developed, we will be getting the new swirl component of velocity at the outlet, that is C theta 2 dash. It is clear from this picture that C theta 2 dash is less than C theta 2, is not it. So, basically because of this resultant force, the absolute component and relative component will now shift from their original position to the new position, as a result of which C theta C 2 prime will be less. So, C 2 prime is less than C 2 and C theta 2 prime less than C theta 2, right. So, what we are getting? We are getting H prime, that is u to C theta 2 prime by g, right. So, definitely H prime will be less than H. So, head developed by the pump will be definitely less, and probably that is what I was discussing in the beginning of today's class, that the head predicted by the Euler equation is not achievable. Why this is? Now you can understand. So, the liquid is supposed to leave from the pump impeller with a velocity W 2, relative velocity, but now it is leaving with a velocity W 2 prime, and the tangential component of absolute velocity in the is C theta 2, that is what we are expecting, but we are getting C theta 2 prime. So, as if liquid is being slipped. So, as if the tangential component, rather component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction is now changed from C theta 2 to C theta 2 prime, and the change or difference between these two components, that is C theta 2 minus C theta 2 prime, is the slip. So, as if one factor is there, that factor is allowing liquid to slip, by virtue of which we are getting C theta 2 minus C theta 2 prime. So, we are getting C theta 2 prime, and this is nothing but V slip. So, this is called slip velocity. Okay. So, we started our discussion that slip is there in the pump, and because of this slip, perhaps the head developed by the pump will not be equal to that is predicted by the Euler equation. So, the head predicted by the Euler equation is not achievable because of this slip. Why slip is occurring? So, eventually if we try to look at here, the resultant force is allowing liquid to slip, as a result of which, though the absolute velocity is supposed to leave with a velocity C 2 from the pump impeller, the liquid is supposed to leave from the pump impeller with an absolute velocity C 2, but it is now leaving with C 2 prime, which is less than C 2, and as if there is a slip of this velocity, and that slip is C theta 2 minus C theta 2 prime. Okay. So, basically the resultant component of the force R, which is responsible for the slip of the liquid that is there in the pump impeller, that is there in the passage of the pump impeller. So, liquid is supposed to leave with a velocity C 2 from the pump impeller, but because of this resultant force, it is slipping, as if a slip is there. So, it is slipping, and the new swirl component of velocity at the outlet is C theta 2 prime, and as a result of which head developed by the pump will be less. Okay. So, we have tried to understand why slip is there in the pump in the context of pump operation, and then we have understood that because of this slip, the head developed by the pump will be less. So, we really cannot we cannot eliminate this, because that will be there, but our objective should be to design the pump in such a way that the slip component can be reduced, essentially to achieve the head higher. Okay. So, we will be discussing that now that slip velocity, that is what we have predicted, that is nothing but the C theta 2 minus C theta 2 prime. Can we correlate this slip velocity in terms of the blade design parameter of the pump, or the different design parameter of the blades? So, and that part we will be trying to discuss, and probably there are many models available to correlate the slip velocity in terms of the blade design parameters, but Stodola's model is one of them, and we will try to discuss that model in the next class. So, with this I stop here today. Thank you.